So why do 90% of people never lose fat? And are you also someone that struggles to lose it? Now, fat loss is actually a simple process if you have the right strategy and you know how to implement it. Now, the problem is if you're making certain mistakes both in and out of the gym, even if you know what to do, it's going to make it extremely difficult for you to lose fat. And not because you don't know what to do, but it's because you're making these small, simple mistakes that are limiting you and holding you back. And these mistakes, you may not even realize you're making them. I was making them for years, and it set me back a lot when I first started to lose weight, when I went from looking like this to this. However, over the years, I've realized by removing these mistakes, it has made it so much easier for me to lose body fat. And I recently made my own transformation where I went from over 20% body fat to 10% body fat. And it's simply because I stopped making these mistakes. So you want to know what these mistakes are so you can avoid doing them and start losing body fat? Then stay tuned for this video. So mistake number one is that you need to sweat in the gym and do these high intensity sessions to lose more fat. So one common misconception that I hear a lot is that you need to sweat more to lose weight. The more you sweat means the harder you worked out, the more calories you burn, and the more weight you will lose, right? Well, not really. So the amount you sweat has nothing to do with the amount of calories that you burn. For example, let's say I do 2 workouts at the same intensity, but one workout I do in a cold room with air conditioning, and the other workout I do in a hotter room with no air conditioning. Now, of course, I'm going to sweat more in the hotter room with no air conditioning, but that doesn't mean I'm going to burn way more calories because both workouts are going to be at the same intensity. Sweating is just a sign that your body is hot and needs to cool down. Sweating more doesn't mean that your fat is suddenly going to melt away faster. Also, doing these really high intensity workouts with no rest doesn't mean you're going to burn a lot more calories than doing a standard bodybuilding workout. Now, you may burn a little bit more calories because you'll be resting less, but it's not going to make a huge difference. The amount of calories that you burn through a workout is not as much as you may think. In fact, doing steady state zone 2 cardio will probably burn the same amount of fat as a conventional HIIT workout. But the difference is after doing a steady state cardio, you still have energy, and therefore you still have the capacity to move more throughout the day. But after an intense HIIT workout, you're going to be exhausted. So it's more likely that you're going to move less throughout the day. And not only that, you may end up eating more because you feel more hungry. And that's why these sorts of workouts aren't really required for you to lose fat. To lose fat, that's going to come from you being stricter with your diet and being in an overall calorie deficit. But how are you going to do that if you feel more hungry throughout the day? So I see a lot of people doing these high intensity workouts on a Saturday morning, and then they say to themselves, oh, that was a tough workout, so I deserve to have a nice meal or go out for a few drinks later on because, you know, I worked really hard, burned a lot of calories, so I deserve that. But in my opinion, this will just make you go the other way, so you end up putting on fat rather than losing it, because a HIIT workout will burn approximately 600 calories at most. And then if you go and eat a dessert or go have a few drinks, you've already consumed back those calories. And therefore that workout has pretty much gone out the window. So that's why I say you don't need to do these HIIT sessions and sweat a load to burn fat. A better idea, in my opinion, would be to do steady state zone 2 cardio, move more throughout the day, so get your steps in, and eat in a freaking calorie deficit. So mistake number 2 is snacking during the day or at night. So 99.999% of people make or have made this mistake, including myself, when trying to lose fat. Doing this can wipe out your entire calorie deficit very easily. You know, during the day you're eating in a calorie deficit, and by the end of the day after dinner, you've hit your macros and your calories that you need to lose fat. But then you're still a little bit hungry, so you say to yourself, well, I'm in a 500 calorie deficit, so surely a few nuts won't hurt. That will just put me in a 300 calorie deficit, but I'm still in a deficit, so I'll lose the fat, right? So what do? You walk towards the cupboard, you open the cupboard, you grab a packet of nuts, and then you start snacking. And then you say to yourself, just 5 nuts, and then I'll put it back. So you eat the 5 nuts. And then you say to yourself again, just a few more won't hurt. And by the end of it, you've sat on the couch for 20 minutes, watched a TrainerNeal video, and you've had like half the damn packet of nuts. And how many calories is that? Almost 500 probably. So your entire calorie deficit has been wiped out with just a few nuts. Now, it doesn't have to be nuts, it can be something else, but you get the picture. And I've done this countless of times, and it's completely ruined my calorie deficit. And it's so easy to do. Remember, calories add up. So if you snack away at something, you may say to yourself, just a few at the beginning, but then just a few becomes a lot more than that very quickly. And then before you know it, your entire deficit is wiped out. That's why it's super important for you to stick to your meal plan every single day. And your meal plan should include the foods you enjoy, as well as foods that fill you up so you feel satiated and you don't feel hungry when the day is over. You don't have to eat bland foods all the time. Your diet doesn't have to be that boring. You can make meals that have a bit more taste, and you can even include things like desserts as long as it fits within your calories and macros. And guys, if you are struggling with understanding calories and macros, then I recommend downloading my free nutrition guide. The link is in the description below. It has a ton of information about prepping your meals and what kinds of foods to include in your meal preps so that you don't feel hungry all the time and you don't end up snacking your deficit away. Now, mistake number 3 is not taking into account liquid calories and sources when tracking. So if you drink a lot of coffees, cappuccinos, lattes, and juices from outside, then you may actually be shocked to see how many calories they have. For example, a cappuccino from Starbucks can have up to 300 calories, and many people drink 2 or 3 of these a day. So imagine that's already 600 calories just from liquid calories alone. Many people tend to underestimate how many calories these drinks actually have, and that's why they don't end up tracking it. They think that it has a maximum of like 100 calories per drink, and realistically that's not going to make much of a difference to their intake. However, if you actually read the labels and check online, these drinks contain a lot more calories than you may actually realize. And if you're having one of these or one or more of these every single day, then this may be the reason why you're not losing fat. And this also goes for sauces, for example, ketchup and this Nando sauce that I actually have all the time. And again, you may think that putting some of this over some chicken won't have that many calories, so you don't need to track it. These calories will add up over time. So if you have a lot of these kind of things, then it can easily put you into a surplus from being in a deficit. And that's why it's super important to track anything and everything, because remember, everything does add up. If you track every little thing that you eat or drink, no matter what it is, then it's going to make it much easier for you to stay in a deficit and to lose that fat. So mistake number 4 is not eating enough lean protein. Now, when I first started working with clients, I do a full analysis of their diet to see what their macros are looking like. Because if their protein intake is quite low, then this is one of the reasons why they're not able to lose fat. And most of the time, it is quite low. It's generally below 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight. Now, as you guys know, my recommendation is right around 2 grams per pound of body weight to not only build muscle, but also to lose fat. The more protein you have in your diet, generally the better. Now, the goal shouldn't be just to lose fat. It should also be to try and preserve or even build as much muscle mass as possible. So if you focus on just losing fat without building any muscle, then you aren't going to have a good shape. You'll just be some guy who lost a bunch of weight but now looks skinny. However, if you preserve muscle and try to build muscle alongside losing that fat with your training and having a high protein diet, then you're going to have a much better shape by the end of your fat loss journey, and you'll look more athletic. Now, if you're in a calorie deficit and you're resistance training, then consuming high protein is necessary to preserve as much muscle tissue as possible. If you lack protein in your diet, then majority of your calories are going to come from carbs and fats. And although carbs and fats don't actually make you fat, they will not fill you up completely. Also, the more carbs and fats you have in your diet, generally the more calories you'll be consuming, because fats have a higher calorie per gram compared to protein. So the reason I say to have lean protein like chicken and fish is because they're much more satiating. No one's ever been in a calorie surplus just from consuming lean protein alone, because it's hard. Lean protein is going to make you feel much more full throughout the day, and therefore it's going to make it much easier for you to stay in that calorie deficit and lose that fat. So my advice would be to prioritize lean protein every single meal that you have, so you can hit that 1 gram per pound of body weight, and you can feel much more full throughout the day. And the final mistake is doing too much too fast. So a lot of the time when people want to lose weight, they tend to get very excited and want to change everything all at once. So they start doing this horrendous amount of cardio, and alongside that, they'll drop their calories by this ridiculous amount, and therefore they'll be under eating. So it becomes this huge increase in expenditure and a massive decrease in consumption. So it sounds like the perfect combo to lose weight. But is it really? Now, although initially you will lose some weight because you'll definitely be in a calorie deficit, however, you will start to experience extreme fatigue because you'll be eating a lot less than your body is used to, while pushing your body a lot harder than it's used to as well. And therefore, this could lead you to giving up because you simply can't take it anymore. And therefore, you go back to your old ways, your old habits, and it becomes this yo-yo cycle. And this isn't going to be good because you'll end up going round in circles. You end up losing a little bit of weight, but then you'll rebound back. Lose again a little bit of weight, rebound back, and by the end of it, you won't actually lose any fat. Also, there'll come a point where you'll eventually hit a plateau. You see, your body changes based on you giving it a new stimulus. So if you suddenly drop calories by a huge amount and start doing endless hours of cardio, then after a few weeks, it'll become harder and harder for your body to shed that fat. And your body may even go to a state called starvation mode, where it will store and hold on to that fat instead of releasing it. So in the long run, this is just going to be unsustainable. When you want to lose fat, you want to make the entire process as sustainable as possible, because it's a long process. And whatever good habits you have developed during the process, you want to keep, because that's the only way you're going to be able to maintain your new built physique after you've lost the fat. So my advice would be to start off slow with both your deficit and training, and then increase everything gradually to an amount that both your mind and your body can handle. So guys, that's the video, and I hope these tips help you on your fat loss journey. And remember, avoid making these mistakes because it's just going to slow you down. And if you did enjoy this video and you found it helpful, do me a favor and smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel and you like my content, then do me another favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications, because I'm going to be releasing 2 new videos every single week just like this, and you don't want to miss them. And if you want to know if your calorie deficit is too low, then I recommend watching this video next. And remember, stay natty, stay clean, and peace.